Hello, welcome on in. It's Betting Weekly Game Bet Match. It's your number one tennis betting podcast and YouTube show brought to you in association with Bet Rivers. We're approaching the business end of the men's singles at the US Open. We've had a good tournament. I'm going to give you a little recap of the tournament during the show, and we're doing well on the show throughout the whole season in 2025. Can we close the tournament with more winners? Let's hope we can. Before I introduce you to an informed Sean Calvert, who is our senior ATP Tour handicapper, please hit the subscribe button. It means a lot to us to hit the subscribe button. About 11,000 of you now have hit the subscribe button, joined the fastest growing YouTube sports betting channel, and we would like that to continue even more in what is going to be a very, very busy few months ahead across the world of sports. Okay, let's move on to the US Open and introduce you to Sean. Sean, good morning, good afternoon. Another good night last night. Felix Auger-Aliassime finally got the job done at plus 132, but what a terrible, terrible men's quarterfinal that was.
Yeah, it was horrible to watch, wasn't it?
Oh,
I mean, I'll talk about it again in a minute when we do the Sinner match, because that's obviously Felix. But yeah, we got a winner. That's really all I can say about that plus money. Not the easy way, not the best of spectacles. You know, as I said, de Minaur was really, he couldn't serve. Basically, he was playing without a serve for most of the match, and Felix was hitting, one winner, 3 unforced errors, one winner, another couple of unforced errors. It was not the best quality, kind of understandable, but both guys going in there thinking, well, I've got a real chance of getting to the semis here. I think de Minaur actually looked the one who was more nervous in the end, but we got a win. I think everything I said on that show, the leans and the bets, I think they all came in, didn't they? Djokovic minus 1.5 sets and Musetti under 12.5 player game. So yes, it's as I said, it's nice when they work out the way that you anticipate and when you see a bit of value. Yeah.
And it's been a decent tournament all round. The figures are looking good for us so far. If you've followed all the picks on this show, we're 15.13 units up overall, and we're 3 units up on the US Open. Obviously, that includes our outright picks, which unfortunately Jack Draper had to retire from the tournament with injury, which doesn't help. Another injured player retiring from the injury. But if with the leans as well, it'd be a lot higher than that. 3 units. Okay, before we go on to the 2 semi-finals that we're going to preview, let's have a look at probably the most boring betting market in sports betting, let alone tennis betting. It's the outright market for the US Open men's title with Bet Rivers. Now remember, these matches are tomorrow on Friday. The 2 semi-finals are on Friday. These are the prices we have now. Jannik Sinner is minus 139. He's the market leader. Carlos Alcaraz plus 140. Novak Djokovic bettors must be absolutely tearing their hair out after taking probably, I think it was $9 at the start of the tournament. He's come through all those matches. He's into the semi-finals and he's $14, so 5 points bigger about Novak Djokovic in the semi-finals than he was at the start. And Felix Auger-Aliassime, 40-1, pretty much making up the numbers really. Well, they both are really. Sinner and Alcaraz dominating the market. Sean, I suppose the outright market really depends on how you think that your opinion of the semi-finals. I don't want to give too much away here, but if I was looking at that match, Sinner, Sinner Alcaraz, he's not going to be far off minus 139 to beat Alcaraz, probably even bigger. Alcaraz would probably be a little bit shorter than plus 140. I suppose if anyone's looking for a bet, Alcaraz would be the bet, but I don't want you to. I don't want to preempt your opinion on that match, but no, it's hard to have a bet now.
Yeah, no, I think you're right. It's minus, unless you think Djokovic is going to beat Alcaraz, then you would probably have to take the plus 140, wouldn't you? I mean, I don't see how you can take minus 139 about Sinner. As you said, I mean, they'll be roughly. I mean, Sinner will probably be a slight favourite, but he certainly won't be minus 139. So, yeah, I think if you are betting on the outright market, I guess you would have to take Alcaraz. As I said at the start, when I talked about this, you were saying that Djokovic fans were having a go at us or whatever. I don't know, but
they always do.
Well, that's fine. But I did say, I don't mind people having a go at me, but the facts are the facts. I did say at the start of the tournament that 10-1, whatever he was, Djokovic, bearing in mind he's got to win all those matches, then he's got to beat Alcaraz and Sinner back to back. 10-1 did not seem like a particularly good price, and now he's 14-1. So that was accurate. That's not, let's get one thing straight. I don't have favourites. I don't have personal favourites in this bet. 1 or 2 players I quite like, the Fogninis or whatever, but I don't have grudges or personal sort of dislikes against players or whatever. I'm just looking at prices, and as I said at the start of the tournament, 10-1 was not a good price on Djokovic in my opinion, and now he's even bigger.
Yep, and I think you're absolutely right. Now, Jannik Sinner, I think it's a strange scenario where Jannik Sinner is minus 139. He could win a match, get to the final, and be a bigger price than minus 139. Yeah. So that's a bit of a strange position there for the outright bettors. Let's move on to the most important thing: is the matches. These semi-finals are the top one here, the first one. We would probably have expected this to be the first semi-final. Well, 3 of the 4 semi-finalists would expect to be the first semi-final. It's Carlos Alcaraz as up against Novak Djokovic. My throat is still bad, by the way, as you can tell.
It's all that singing.
These 2 players are met. I know. I'm not going to Coldplay on Saturday. God knows what it's going to be like on Sunday.
Do you do singing at that as well?
When it was all yellow. No, not really. I just sing a little bit. I do a little bit of.
It's not quite the same as the sort of rasp of Liam Gallagher, is it? It's more sort of
the difference.
Melodic, if you want to call it that.
Yeah. So you have to shout when your race is concert. Then you sort of hold hands with your partner, and or someone else's partner.
It's optional at Coldplay, isn't it? I think.
Yeah, Coldplay. Anything goes at Coldplay. Let's move on to this match. That's the most important thing. Nine times they've met previously. 5-4. The head-to-head record in favour of Novak Djokovic. And the interesting thing about this head-to-head,
I've only got 8. Actually, sorry to interrupt you there.
I've got 5-4 here. I've got a couple of the little. I've got the Olympics in Paris. I've got the DRR Tennis Cup in 2023. No, you probably haven't got that. The DRR Tennis Cup, and what else have I got?
No, I haven't got that. I think that's the one I'm missing. I don't even know what that is. Is that the start of the season exhibition in Saudi or something?
Something like that. Alcaraz won it anyway in 3 sets. If you're interested. But the interesting thing on the head-to-head, you would have thought that Djokovic when they first started their career, Djokovic would have won the early matches and Alcaraz won the later matches. But it's sort of Alcaraz won the very first meeting, which was a shock. He won 2 of the first 3, but then Djokovic has won their last 2 matches here, which is quite odd. Obviously, he beat him in the Olympics in 7-6, 7-6 in 2024, and he beat him this year in the Australian Open in the quarterfinals. So Djokovic has got a chance here, but the odds reflection here doesn't really give him much of a chance. So Carlos Alcaraz is minus 375. Djokovic's $3 spread is 5.5, total 37.5. I suppose Djokovic has got it. Well, the only way Djokovic is going to have a chance of winning this is getting it done early. Yeah. The longer it goes, 5 sets, Alcaraz has got to be the bet here. I suppose, really, I mean, it's hard to break into these semi-finals to try to find some value, but Bet Rivers do have a stack of markets which you've been looking at all morning this morning. Is there any way we can get involved in this match?
Yeah, I think set one on Djokovic, 2.9 plus 190 with Bet Rivers to win the one set, the opening set. I'm not sure about these odds. I don't think he's going to win the match, the physical element and stuff. But it's about Alcaraz having played superbly. He's not dropped a set so far, but it's a very different situation playing someone like a nervy Lehechka or Rinderknecht on Ash, and then playing Novak Djokovic. It's not the same. He's been playing great, Alcaraz, but he doesn't have the best record. I mean, if you look at Djokovic, he's won 4 of their last 5 matches. I think you'll get better than minus 375 in play here. I mean, the last time they met, obviously start of the year, as you said, Djokovic ended up winning it. He was 2.8 plus 180 to win that match. He won it, and then this is what I've been talking about. He won that match, then he had to retire, didn't he, in his next match against Zverev. I think he played 1 set and then retired against Zverev because the physical exertion at his age. That's the worry with Bet. This is what this price is about, plus 300. It's about him being able to win 3 out of 4 or 5 sets against Alcaraz, which at his age, given all the wear and tear on the body, it doesn't seem that likely. But the matchup suggests that it's a very good price. I mean, the Australian Open match, Djokovic broke down the Alcaraz backhand. He came in with a very specific plan to do that, and it worked. I'm not saying he'll do the same again, but Djokovic he's very clever. As I said before, he just puts the ball where the other guys don't want it. It's very different to playing Lehechka or Rinderknecht or any of these guys. It's not the same at all. If you look at their head-to-head of all their meetings, it's actually Djokovic ahead, 101.5 to 98.5 in service points won and return points won totals. It's not a huge advantage, but it's a clear advantage. And this is the underdog that we're talking about that has the statistical advantage. The stats are pretty tight, but the one that stands out to me is Djokovic has won 55% of their second serve points across all their meetings. Alcaraz only won 47%. So you could argue that Djokovic has been the better player from the back of the court across all of those 8 meetings. The 9th one I wouldn't have stats for anyway, this one you were talking about. But the 8 that I do have stats for, the sort of main level ones, it's Djokovic that's ahead. And the question now is, can Djokovic win over the best of 5 sets at his age after some tough matches already at the US Open? And that's what he was talking about. He was saying now I've got to play back to back the top two, having come through a tough first week. And he was, in all fairness, a little fortunate not to get dragged to a fifth by Fritz. I said in that match, Djokovic had to win it in either 3 or 4, and I would fancy Fritz 3-2. That worked out more or less perfectly as I've said, but Fritz was a little bit unlucky, to be fair. He actually, I say unlucky, he won that match in service points won, return points won tails. Fritz won it. But he couldn't get over the mental hurdle of beating Djokovic. He couldn't do it on the big points. Ended up coughing up a double fault to lose it. And that's the mental hurdle that Taylor Fritz has, having lost 10 times out of 10 against Djokovic. It's difficult for these guys, and Djokovic would have been delighted that he didn't to see that double fault come in and not having to go to a fifth. I don't think Djokovic will win, but the odds on him winning set 1 for me are very decent on the matchup, on the stats that I've just spoken about. And that's where the value is for me. He's had a couple of days off to recover now, 2 clear days pretty much. It's probably not enough for him to be able to win the match, but I expect him to be very, very competitive, and he tends to play his best stuff in these matches. If you look back to that Olympics match, again, he was about 2.8 there, plus 180, and that was probably, you'd have to ask Djokovic, but I would imagine that was in his top 5 best matches of his career in the circumstances. And this is why he's still playing tennis. He's not still playing tennis so that he can knock off Cam Norrie and whoever in the first week of a major. He wants to be playing these matches. A bit like Fognini, who I talked about. He's not interested in any of the other stuff. Wants to play on the big stage, the big matches. Djokovic wants to play this match, and he wants to show everybody that he can still do it. And I wouldn't write him off. Djokovic's level against someone like a Fritz or a Norrie compared to what he's going to bring to the table here, I imagine will be very, very different. But the odds are about how Carlos has been playing, really. I mean, he's been perfect. He's not dropped a set, which is totally new for him, even coming into the quarterfinals, let alone the semifinals. He has been irresistible. He's enjoying it. He's playing brilliant. He's bringing out all the shots. Hence the fact that he's minus 375. Service points won and return points won tails. This US Open, Alcaraz 122, Djokovic 111. So that's why the odds are the way they are, and the physical element involved as well with Djokovic. And you just feel like Djokovic, I know he didn't do it in the Australian Open. He ended up losing the first set and still winning, but I think that's a tall order now. So you feel like the first set is so key for Djokovic. The winner of set 1, incidentally, has gone on to lose the match 4 times in 8 meetings. So you don't feel like it would be a disaster for Alcaraz to drop the opening set, but you feel like it could be an uphill struggle for 38-year-old Djokovic. So all told, I think plus 190 is a pretty good price on Djokovic to win the opening set. I'm going to take a chance on that, I think.
I'm just looking at Carlos Alcaraz's form since Miami. I mean, it's been absolutely incredible. I mean, he's only lost once in his last 37 matches, and that was in the Wimbledon final against Jannik Sinner.
Well, how many of them were against Novak Djokovic? I mean, none.
Well, none. and he's 44, 42. He's only lost 2 matches in 47 matches since Miami, and that was Holger Rune in the final of Barcelona, and Jannik Sinner. One
2 big matches, you could argue. But the Conde de Godo, it's a huge, huge, huge tournament for Spaniards. Lost in the final to Holger Rune. I'm not sure he was fit then, if I remember rightly, and then lost to Sinner as well. It's not. He's got a fabulous record. You can't argue with it, but this is different. This is Novak Djokovic in the semi-final of a major. I expect this to be pretty close.
One other thing we didn't really touch on, but I'm looking at the weather forecast. It's going to be quite hot tomorrow. It looks like it's one of the hottest days of the week.
Yeah,
28 degrees, 20 knots hot.
Yeah, a bit warmer. I've got 28 degrees. Again, it depends when this match is being played. We
do know the game.
Do we?
This is just what I'm going to say. That
Okay.
This is the afternoon match.
Okay.
The evening match is Sinner. So would that be a problem? That hot afternoon.
It wouldn't. I don't think it would be ideal for Novak Djokovic, but he's only got to win 1 set. So, as in the first, it's a quick one. You're in, you're out. You win or you lose. It would make me think. Yeah, he's even less likely to win it over the best of 5. Yeah, probably. Windy as well, though. 11-mile-an-hour winds. It doesn't sound a lot, but can get quite swirly inside Arthur Ashe there. Which makes it difficult to play fabulous attacking tennis and go for the lines. It depends how. I mean, 11 mile an hour doesn't sound a lot, but it could be an issue. It could be a factor. So, but yeah, the warmth, that would put me off Djokovic winning the money line. But I don't want to bet him to do that anyway. Just incidentally on the semi-finals, the records, 23% of the underdogs have won on average in the last, I think it's 13 editions. Only one of the last 8 has won, but 23% is not terrible. It's not like the French Open when Nadal was winning pretty much every time. So, yeah, those are the stats and the conditions. It would make me think Djokovic, the heat, not keen. But set 1, still think that's value.
Yeah, set 1 plus 290 for Novak Djokovic to win set 1, almost 3-1. When was the last time we've seen Djokovic at odds like that at the US Open Championships? 76 different markets available. Bet Rivers on this match. Remember, as I said there, it's tomorrow, 3 p.m. Eastern Time. Novak Djokovic against Carlos Alcaraz. And remember, you've still got a few days left to use the promo offer with Bet Rivers, the US Open Profit Boost. Just log on to your Bet Rivers app or your BetRivers.com account every day of the US Open to receive a profit boost of up to 50% for US Open wagering. See the app and website for more details. So you've only got a few more days to do that, so take advantage of that while you can. Okay, let's move on to our second match. Now, Sean found an angle on that one. We're going to call him the protractor if he can find the angles on this one. Jannik Sinner up against Felix Auger-Aliassime. Now, I mean, this is, if you watch the two of them yesterday, I mean, this is going to be a very daunting task for Felix Auger-Aliassime. Riddled with errors, riddled with nerves, but he got over the line against another player in Alex de Moor, didn't perform. Sinner blitzed away Musetti, he blitzed away Blubic. He's getting better as the tournament goes on, and no wonder he's a very, very, very heavy favourite at Bet Rivers, minus 2,500. You've got to risk $2,500 to win 100. Even Mr. Sean Calvert would not be doing things like that.
Nope.
12-1, Felix Auger-Aliassime. The spread here is 7.5. Total is 31.5. But even for Jannik Sinner to win 2 sets to love, you're only going to get minus 210. So a very heavy favourite. There's only 45 markets available right now as we record. This is the night match, 7 p.m. I mean, how can we make a case for this? We've got a form line to go on it, and it was only a couple of weeks ago in Cincinnati, a match where I went over the games on, and Sinner come out and won 6-love, 6-2 in the semi-finals. Auger-Aliassime did win, though, the first 2 meetings between the two of them, and the only 2 minutes between the two of them in 2022. But in those 3 years, Jannik Sinner has become an absolute monster. What are we going to do here, Sean? I mean, is there a way in? Is there something you look at? I mean, Felix has got. He must be absolutely shaking like a leaf. After that, if we were looking at the evidence of yesterday compared to what he's going to be for this one,
possibly. But I think the difference with that is he knew he had a pretty good chance of beating de Minaur. And same de Minaur knew he had a pretty good chance. I think that's what made that so nervy. I think Felix would probably come in here thinking, I won 2 games last time I played this guy. He might have that mentality where he's thinking, I'm a big underdog. I'm going to again have a swing, play my game, see what happens. I don't think he had that mentality against de Minaur. I mean, it was a pretty tough watch, de Minaur against Felix. And Felix was nowhere near the level that he was against Zverev and Rublev, which does happen with Felix. Zverev said it, he is either very good or not very good. He got away with it, Felix, largely because, as I said, de Minaur he couldn't buy a first serve. De Minaur, it was horrible from him. The serving performance that he put in, he was round about 30 to 40% first serve points for a lot of that match. De Minaur, double faults, looked very nervy. It was a tough watch. So many errors. I think it was because de Minaur just thought, he's like Rublev, quarterfinals of a major, but no further. He was probably thinking, right, this is my chance. And that made him nervous. I mean, Felix is obviously going to need way better if he's going to make this close, the way that Sinner's playing at the moment, or hope that he gets the Sinner that showed up against his compatriot Shapovalov, which was not a very good Sinner at all. That was a day match, though. This you've said now this is going to be a night match. That's what Sinner prefers. So, yeah, it's a little tricky, this one. I mean, their head-to-head is slightly misleading. If you just looked at the bare head-to-head, 3-1 to Felix, you would think, well, he's got a chance here. Obviously, one of them was a withdrawal, so that nobody took to the court at all. And it is misleading because 2 of the matches were 3 years ago, and Felix was actually the higher-ranked player at the time. So, it's a world away from where we are now. If we look at the stats of that one match that you talked about, Cincinnati, talk about service points won and return points won total, 136 to 64. in favour of Sinner. And Felix hit 5 winners and 29 unforced errors in 14 games. So he was hitting 2 unforced errors every game, Felix. And that's what he can do. When he's off, he's off. When he's on, he's on. And Sinner won 64% of return points in that match against a guy that is a very, very strong server. This US Open, the stats of what they've done this tournament, service points won and return points won totals. Sinner is very similar to Alcaraz, 121, just 1 point behind Alcaraz. Felix, 108, quite a way back. And Sinner winning 48% of return points on an all right paced hardcore is impressive. It's difficult because you don't really know what you're going to get with Felix at all. I'm sure a lot of bettors out there will be thinking, I know that a lot that I've spoken to that have Felix down as their number one avoid player because he is so inconsistent. I mean, if he plays his best stuff, he could make it respectable, but he isn't at that. He's not at that level. Even his best, it's not quite there. And I can sort of see a similar result to Musetti yesterday. The Musetti one, I said in the preview, Sinner could just rush him, particularly on that one-handed backhand side, and just make him feel very, very uncomfortable. And and that's what happened. And the Musetti under 12.5 games, that came in pretty easy. If we look at what Felix has done against the trio of Djokovic, Alcaraz and Sinner since the start of 2023, 0-5 win-loss, service points won and return points won, total of 78. So, bearing in mind the Cincinnati result as well, I know Felix played poorly that day, but I can't see Sinner wanting to hang about too much here. It's always difficult with Felix, but I would go under 12.5 again here. Under 12.5 player games, minus 128 with Bet Rivers. I could see this being a fairly one-sided affair unless Sinner has that poor level and Felix plays his absolute best, which is possible, but I would probably go under 12.5 Felix player games here.
Would you wait for some of the stat bets to come out? I mean, like Felix double faults. I mean, his service breaks, total number breaks over for Sinner. It's over 4.5 service breaks for Sinner, minus 113. Maybe some of the props, which were going to come out probably after this podcast, will be going live.
Yeah, I mean,
on the day of the match, they could be the way to go.
Yeah, I mean, bearing in mind that he won 64% of return points against Felix in Cincy, where it was quicker than here. Yeah, you would say something like that. Over depends what the line is and the prices, but over breaks the serve is certainly a possibility. You could see him breaking a lot here, but again, it depends which Felix comes to the court. He might come here, as I said, he might come here and just have a swing and everything starts clicking for him, and he ends up winning the set or taking the lead or something. That's possible, but I wouldn't like to bet on it. I think that the surer thing is that Sinner wins this with something to spare.
I mean, Felix Auger-Aliassime served 11 double faults yesterday in that match with Dimino. Dimino also served 11 double faults. I'm looking at that kind of stuff.
Yeah, I mean, and look at those stats.
Nervy kind of things.
Yeah, I mean, Alex Dimino, 42%.
Yeah. First
serves he got in that match. And he was lower than that for the first couple of sets. He didn't really give himself a chance. And look at the other stat that stands out a mile from that match. Felix, second serve points won, 32%. If he's winning 32% of second serve points against Dimino, how many is he going to win against Sinner? I know he had a bad day, but he does have bad days, and it really does depend on what level he brings in. It's quite a tough one to bet, but I think the obvious play is for Sinner to win it with the margin to spare.
Yeah, so minus total games there for Felix Auger-Aliassime. I was looking at some of them unforced errors. No, they're 50 unforced errors he had.
Most of them were on the forehand. He was up to about 25 after, I think, the first couple of sets, and the vast majority were the forehand. Just when it goes, it goes. The back fence. Watch out, ball kids. It's all over the place, isn't it? So yeah, he is an enigma. He is a guy that, as I say, brings very, very different levels on different days, which is why he's tough to bet. I took a chance on him to beat Dimino. Honestly, I think we got a little bit lucky because, as I said, he won 32% of second serve points. But in a way, you could look. He got rewarded because he was the braver player. Dimino was a bit reactive, and ended up costing him in the end.
Yeah. They are all tomorrow. They are the two men's singles semi-finals. One's a lot more interesting than the other from a betting perspective. From what we have found, one official play and one lean. So our official play for tomorrow is Novak Djokovic to win the first set against Carlos Alcaraz at a massive plus 290. Lots more content coming your way. Tomorrow, I'll be alongside Roy Giovanni previewing the women's final. Unfortunately, all our 3 picks went out at the quarterfinal stage. Can you believe our luck? That is just incredible. Anyway, we will preview whoever's in the final. I'm presuming it'll probably be, well, I don't know, actually, it could be anybody in that women's draw. We'll have the final preview tomorrow, and then myself and Sean will be back on Saturday to preview the men's singles of the US Open Championship. We've also got loads of content as well. Betting Weekly live will be live every day. No Premier League and no extra time this week, but the international slate is packed, and we'll have that previewed on Betting Weekly Live. And if you like what you hear on these shows, it's really important for you. It's very important. One thing I'd ask you to do today is please subscribe to our newsletter. So much content on there, exclusive content. All the guys get involved. There's previews of all the different sports we cover here. The weekend college football, the American football this weekend, hardball, everything's previewed. There's a couple of new shows breaking as well. And it's all previewed on our newsletter. So make sure you keep across that. And you can subscribe to it for free at thebettingweeklystudios.com. So that is it for today's Betting Weekly Game Bet Match. We'll be back on Saturday to preview the final. And I will be very, very, very surprised if we're not previewing another Sinner v Alcaraz major championship. Wouldn't you, Sean?
I would be a little bit surprised, yeah, for sure.
If it's Felix Auger-Aliassime against Novak Djokovic, what can I...
Are you thinking of a forfeit to do here or something?
I'm trying to think of a forfeit to do, but I don't want to go too bizarre in case it actually happens, but I can't see it happening.
You could do something weird at the Coldplay concert if you want.
Well, I do things weird. I'll do something weird. I'll give a big shout out. I'll go with someone to get on that big screen and make out that get caught out. Anyway, I'll think of a forfeit and I'll post it on the social media. But I'm sure it's going to be Alcaraz v Sinner. But anyway, let's see what you get. Good luck with your bets. Let's hope that Djokovic takes that first set and we can cash another ticket on what's been a good week so far for us here on the Betting Weekly Game Bet Match Show. Enjoy the rest of your day, Sean. Enjoy the rest of the day, everybody else, and we'll speak to you again on Saturday. Take care.